Mark Carney's rise to Canada's highest office is already sending shockwaves. His firm stance against U.S. annexation and re-evaluation of Canada's $19 billion F-35 deal mark a bold pivot toward European alliances. Carney's strong stance on U.S. influence could change Canada's military strategy and global alliances. What's behind this bold move? And how could it impact NATO and the global balance of power? Tune in as we break down the details of this major geopolitical shift.
Coming to Canada, the new Prime Minister Mark Carney has directed the Defence Ministry to review a $13.2 billion F-35 fighter jet deal signed with the U.S.
Thomas, I think fascinating because it's not just Canada, right? Some other countries are also reviewing their contracts to buy these very expensive fighter jets from the U.S. over trade.
Carney's big push for Canadian independence. Mark Carney is already getting to work. Just after being sworn in on March 14th, he made Canada's stance on the U.S. crystal clear. His bold declaration, "We will never ever in any way, shape, or form be part of the United States," left no room for debate. It wasn't just some random comment. It was a direct response to Senator Marco Rubio's suggestion that Canada would be better as America's 51st state. Carney didn't beat around the bush. He called the idea ridiculous, which is exactly how a lot of Canadians feel. They see their national identity as completely different from the USS. Canada and the US have always been tight, trading goods, sharing military secrets, and enjoying cultural exchanges. But Carney's message is a game changer. It's all about making sure Canada stays in the control of its own affairs. And it's not just about feeling proud, it's a smart move. He said the US is eyeing our resources, water, land, and even our country itself. That's not the kind of language you'd expect from polite diplomacy. It's a clear declaration of independence. He didn't hold back, saying that any attempt at annexation would obliterate our way of life. This kind of rhetoric makes one thing clear. Carney sees today's geopolitical landscape as a real threat to Canada's autonomy. But his push for sovereignty isn't just political. It's already shaping Canada's military strategy. Canada's military strategy is changing. A new look at the F-35. Canada's decision to rethink its $19 billion contract for 88 F-35 stealth fighters signals a major shift in military strategy. Defense Minister Bill Blair's announcement caught a lot of people off guard, especially since Canada had already allocated funds for the first 16 jets, set to arrive next year. The F-35 program has been a hot topic for a while. It's got some really advanced stealth and avionics, but it's also pretty expensive and tricky to maintain, which has led to some criticism worldwide. Canada's hesitation isn't just happening on its own. It's part of a bigger shift happening in NATO. Portugal just ditched its own F-35 plans because they're worried about Trump's unpredictable foreign policy, and the U.S. imposed restrictions on how they can use it. Now, there's talk that Canada might switch to European jets, like Sweden's Saab JAS-39 Gripen. The Gripen can reach Mach 2 and take off from rough airstrips, which makes it a strong option. But what really makes it stand out is Saab's idea to build the Gripen in Canada. This would create jobs, transfer important technologies, and keep Canada in line with NATO standards. This isn't just about upgrading fighter jets. It's about Canada becoming more strategic independent. If Canada sticks with US-controlled defense systems, it's basically tied to them politically and operationally. By shifting towards European models, Canada can diversify its defense partnerships and reduce its reliance on a single supplier. But this move isn't just about military flexibility. It's part of a bigger shift towards Europe in Canada's defense strategy. Before we go further, help us chart new lines. Hit that like and subscribe to stay updated on the biggest shifts in global strategy. Now let's dive into the next big thing. Canada is teaming up more closely with the European defense industry. Canada is moving closer to Europe when it comes to defense, and it's not just happening on its own. It's part of a bigger global shift in military spending. Europe has been increasing its defense budget a lot recently. EU countries have boosted their budgets by over 30% between 2021 and 2024, reaching almost 326 billion euros, which is about 1.9% of the EU's GDP. This has led to a surge in profits for major European defense companies like Rheinmetall, the continent's largest ammunition manufacturer, which set record profits last year and is gearing up for another 30% growth in the coming year. As Europe steps up its defense game, Canada's move toward European partners could be a strategic move in a shifting global balance of power. The European Commission's Rearm Europe initiative is speeding up this growth, with up to €800 billion earmarked for joint defense projects and increasing production capacity. As Europe strengthens its defense industry, Canada's potential shift toward European suppliers is already catching the attention of major players. Beyond Saab's Gripen, France's Dassault Rafale and Germany's Eurofighter Typhoon are being considered as alternatives to the F-35. Choosing European-built jets would give Canada more bargaining power and flexibility, which is tough to achieve under the tightly controlled F-35 program. But this shift isn't just about military strategy. Deepening defense ties with Europe could also have major economic implications for Canada. Canada's defense strategy, balancing security and economic growth. Canada's defense industry is about more than just national security. It's a cornerstone of the economy, contributing over $9.6 billion to GDP and supporting around 81,000 jobs as of 2022. It's also a major driver of domestic employment and technological growth. To support this sector, the government rolled out a plan to buy equipment for the Canadian Armed Forces, CF, and Coast Guard that would make it more efficient and create more jobs in Canada. They've been focusing on making the procurement process more streamlined to speed up delivery times and strengthen Canada's defense industry from within. Back in April 2024, the government kicked off the Our North Strong and Free project, setting aside $10.2 billion over 20 years to update national defense infrastructure and make sure the CAF is prepared for changing security situations. On top of that, they're putting another $9.5 billion into building a strategic ammunition reserve and boosting domestic artillery production, which will make Canada more self-sufficient and less reliant on foreign suppliers. But this shift toward European defense partners isn't just about logistics. It's also reshaping Canada's geopolitical alliances in ways that could have lasting global implications. Final call. Canada's military strategy enters a new chapter. Ditching the F-35 isn't just about saving money. It's a statement of sovereignty. Carney's blunt rejection of U.S. annexation echoes a growing push for Canadian autonomy. Shifting toward European defense players like Saab and Dassault isn't just about getting new jets. It's about diversifying alliances and reducing reliance on American military infrastructure. But this move comes with risks. With Trump's foreign policy being as unpredictable as ever, will more allies follow Canada's lead toward European alternatives? What happens next will show if this is just a short-term adjustment or the start of a major strategic shift. What's your take? Should Canada scrap the F-35 and fully embrace European defense solutions, or stay the course with the original deal? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We're drawing new lines on this one. And if you want to stay ahead of the biggest shifts in defense and global strategy, make sure to subscribe to Globe Lines, where we're always redrawing the map of world affairs. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.